I am not saying that to say that trans women aren't women. I am just saying that those pussy they got, you know what I mean? I'm not saying it's not pussy, it's like beyond pussy, impossible pussy.
The woke mob came for comedy's greatest rebel, and they got more than they ever expected. When Dave Chappelle stepped on stage, he wasn't tiptoeing around anyone's feelings. Netflix execs trembled, Twitter exploded, and the mainstream media heralded his imminent downfall. Yet, Chappelle didn't flinch. He delivered a masterclass in fearless comedy, a line drawn in the sand that challenged the very rules of political correctness.
But I can't say the word and she said, because, David, you are not gay. I said, well, Renee, I'm not a either.
This is the full story they don't want you to hear. He threw hard truths directly at their faces, refusing to bow to hurt feelings or manufactured outrage. While others scrambled to apologize, Chappelle stood firmly by the cold hard facts, even when it cost him millions. This wasn't just another comedy special, it was a line drawn in the sand. A cultural moment that perfectly demonstrates why Chappelle remains untouchable in an industry where most have surrendered to the pressure.
But you see, what I didn't realize at the time and what Kevin had to learn the hard way is we were breaking an unwritten and unspoken rule of show business. And if I say it, you'll know that I'm telling you the truth. The rule is that no matter what you do in your artistic expression, you are never, ever allowed to upset the alphabet people. You know who I mean. Those people that took 20% of the alphabet for themselves. I'd say the letters, but I don't want to conjure their anger. It's too late now. I'm talking about them L's and them B's and them G's and the T's. People be surprised. I have friends, all kinds of letters. Everybody loves me and I love everybody. I got friends who are L's, I got friends who are B's, and I got friends who are G's. But the T's hate my guts. And I don't blame them. It's not their fault, it's mine. I can't stop telling jokes about these things. I don't want to write these jokes, but I just can't stop. You know, you hear all those letters together all the time, LBGT, LBGT, and you think it's just one big movement. It's not. All those letters are their own movement. They just travel in the same car together.
Look at how he exposed Hollywood's unspoken rule. The so-called alphabet people have managed to set the limits on what's acceptable in comedy. Chappelle boldly revealed that the backlash isn't about protecting feelings, it's about controlling the narrative. While celebs are routinely canceled for even the slightest joke, he refuses to pander, uniting humor and truth in a way that forces us all to question why we've allowed political correctness to run our culture.
The G's are driving that car. That makes sense to me, because there's white men in the G's. And these people are trying to get around discrimination and oppression. And you know how white dudes are. We know these roads. In fact, we built these roads. The rest of you buckle up, we'll get you to where you want to go. So the G's are just driving the car. Of course, next to the G's in the passenger seat is the L's. Everybody likes the L's, except for the G's. I don't know what that's about. I just know the G's don't like them that much. And the G's always say like little subliminal digs on them. It's unnecessary shit. Not mean, but you know what I mean? They just be like, I wouldn't wear that. The only thing that breaks the tension between the L's and the G's are the B's in the back seat. That's right, there you go. Everybody scream out when you hear your letter. If it's one thing that the L's and the G's agree on, is that the B's are gross. They seem greedy to the L's and the G's, you know what I mean? He's just sitting in the back seat like, yeah, man, I'll fuck anybody in this car. What's going on, man? And sitting next to the bees, all the way in the back seat by themselves, looking out the window. That's the T's. Everybody in the car respects the T's, but everyone also resents the T's.
Then, Chappelle escalates the conversation by dissecting the divisions within the LGBTQ community. With surgical precision, he points out how the movement isn't a monolith. He shows us that the internal squabbles and power plays where, for instance, certain groups dominate the conversation while sidelining others are exactly what make his jokes sting. By calling out these fractures, Chappelle starts a battle that the woke brigade never expected, laying bare a truth that many are too afraid to acknowledge.
The men at the table were filming me. This happens when you're famous. People will come over and try to rattle your cage and get you to say something stupid or dumb so that their buddies can film it and they get a video of you embarrassing yourself. And clearly I said, this is what's happening. And these dumb motherfuckers thought that it was my first rodeo. I ran right over there. I said, I pointed right in the camera. I said, you's a bitch for doing this to me. And the dude was shocked that I said it. He said, oh. And when he did like this, I seen all his fingernails was painted, and I realized, like, uh-oh. This fella's gay. Now, you know how I talk. I call everybody a bitch. You know what I mean? But that's not a right thing to do if they're gay, you know what I mean? And now I was in trouble. And not only that, the motherfucker was huge. He stood up, he was towering over me. He must have been 6'5", a big, white, corn-fed, Texas homosexual. This nigga was ready to fight. And he started barking on me, but I stood my ground. I wasn't scared. How could I be scared? This motherfucker shirt was tied up in a knot like this. This guy, let's go, let's go. I thought we were gonna come to blows. I was ready, And then, right when you think we would fight, guess what he did? He picked up his phone and he called the police. And this thing I'm describing is a major issue that I have with that community. Gay people are minorities until they need to be white again.
Chappelle opens by recounting a seemingly casual encounter in a bar. He's simply talking to a fan who approaches him. On the surface, it's an ordinary interaction, but hints of something more are already at play. Chappelle wades into the turbulent waters of identity politics, highlighting how certain factions within the LGBTQ+ community have attempted to embroil him in public disputes, ostensibly to tarnish his reputation. His commentaries suggest a perceived hierarchy of victimhood, where grievances are leveraged for social capital. In a masterstroke of irony, Chappelle recounts an incident where LGBTQ+ individuals threatened to call the police on him, a black man. This scenario underscores the complex interplay of marginalized identities, where the invocation of law enforcement becomes a tool wielded without apparent consideration of the historical and systemic implications for African Americans. Chappelle's narrative lays bare the potential for intercommunity conflicts to perpetuate existing societal inequities. But sadly, it wasn't an isolated incident.
Another time, about 6 years ago, there was a lesbian woman that tried to sell a story about me to TMZ. Thank goodness TMZ could see right through the sham of that story. This woman claimed that I beat her up in a nightclub because she was a lesbian. That is crazy. I didn't even know you was a woman. Thank God TMZ didn't believe that. Because I did beat the out of her, I'm not gonna lie. And all of a sudden, this lesbian fellow stepped between us. Hey, that's my girl. I said, yo, my man, back up, like that. She said, I ain't backing up all that's my girl. I said, bro, you're gonna have to give me 3 feet, like this. She said, stop calling me a man, motherfucker. I'm a woman. I said, what? She was in a perfect southpaw stance. Her shoulders were angled correctly. Her head movement was good. I said, oh no! This bitch box is for real. She threw a wild hook at me and I saw it coming from yesterday, so I slipped it like this. I had no choice. I had to go to work.
I let that jab go. You should have seen me go. I tenderized them tits like chicken cutlets. I whooped the toxic masculinity out of that bitch.
Chappelle continues by recounting another unassuming moment in a bar, where a fan approaches him sparking what appears to be an ordinary conversation. Almost immediately, the tone shifts. What seemed like a casual exchange is revealed as a meticulously planned setup. The fan's approach isn't spontaneous. It's a deliberate tactic engineered by those determined to manufacture controversy. This orchestrated confrontation is meant to bait Chappelle into a feud and further their narrative agenda, showing the lengths to which the alphabet people will go to produce content that reinforces their own claims. This moment isn't just about altercation, it's a sharp critique of a culture that thrives on controversy and the relentless pursuit of a narrative, no matter the cost. His story exposes a hypocrisy in our society. For Chappelle, this isn't merely about humor, it's a serious critique of how identity politics and cultural privilege intersect. In his inimitable style, he uses this observation to provoke thought about who gets to redefine themselves and why, urging us to look beyond surface-level woke changes to understand the deeper social and cultural dynamics at play. Historically speaking, whenever these people are challenged, they staged full-on outrageous protests to cancel anyone who stood in front of them. Chappelle faced the brunt of their onslaught head-on with stating biological stats that offend them so much.
And now we get to the core of the crisis. What is a woman? What is that in this day and time? Is there even such thing as a woman or a man or anything? Seems to be a question nowadays. Now listen, women get mad at me. Gay people get mad at me, lesbians get mad at me, but I'm gonna tell you right now, and this is true, these transgenders want me dead. I've gone too far, I've said too much, and I gotta tell you, I'm very worried about it, I'm not even joking. Every time I come out on stage, I be scared. I be looking around the crowd, searching for knuckles and Adam's apples to see where the threats might be coming from. Came up to me on the street the other day. He said, "Careful, Dave, they after you." I said, "What?" One they or many theys?
With these cuts, the message becomes crystal clear. Chappelle reasserts that nothing is off limits when it comes to comedy. He reminds us of the sacred ground of free speech, a domain where truth and humor collide, and where even the most taboo topics can be dissected without fear. In doing so, he underlines that the power of comedy lies in its irreverence.
I feel bad for teas, but they're so confusing. And it's not all my fault. I feel like they need to take some responsibility for my jokes. Because I didn't come up with this idea on my own, this idea that a person can be born in the wrong body, but they have to admit that's a hilarious predicament. It's really funny. If it happened to me, you'd laugh, wouldn't you? That wouldn't be funny if it happened to me? I think it would be. What if it did? What if I was Chinese, but born in this body? That's not funny. It's like that white black in the news all the time. Rachel Dolezal. She's a white woman, but then she dressed up, shot her way up to the very top of blackness. And I always wanted to meet her just so I could understand. I just wanted to have dinner with her so I could just look in her eyes and call her to her face. The talking about? I identify black. That is trans talk, ladies. Stop biting. Stop biting. There's a big difference between her and a trans. The difference between her and a trans is I believe transgenders. I don't understand them either, but I know they mean what they say. They off. That's all the proof I need. I've never seen somebody just throw their away. Don't need it. I don't understand, but I believe you and I support your decision, motherfucker. But how far is Rachel willing to go?
Next, he turns his attention to the so-called born on the wrong body narrative. Chappelle's commentary isn't just provocative, It's a reminder that we've let this overblown political correctness fester for too long. With impeccable timing, he challenges the status quo, questioning the logic behind these modern controversies and pushing his audience to confront the absurdity of the prevailing narrative.
It's been said in the press that I was invited to speak to the transgender employees at Netflix, and I refuse. That is not true. If they had invited me, I would have accepted it, although I am confused about what we are speaking about. I said what I said, and boy, I heard what you said. My God, how could I not? You said you want a safe working environment at Netflix. Well, it seems like I'm the only one that can't go to the office anymore. I want everyone in this audience to know that even though the media frames this, that it's me versus that community, that is not what it is. Do not blame the LGBTQ community for any of this shit. This has nothing to do with them. It's about corporate interests and what I can say and what I cannot say. For the record, and I need you to know this, everyone I know from that community has been nothing but loving and supporting. So I don't know what all this nonsense is about.
This segment is where Chappelle's genius truly shines. He weaves a narrative so bold that it forces even the most indoctrinated minds to pause and rethink what they've been told. His ability to dismantle the carefully constructed arguments of the woke elite is nothing short of revolutionary, forcing a reevaluation of the very notion of offense in today's culture.
And when this controversy came out about the closer, they began disinviting me from these film festivals. And now, today, not a film company, not a movie studio, not a film festival, nobody will touch this film. Thank God for Ted Sarandos at Netflix. He's the only one that didn't cancel me yet. To the transgender community, I am more than willing to give you an audience, but you will not summon me. I am not bending to anybody's demands. And if you want to meet with me, I'd be more than willing to, but I have some conditions. First of all, you cannot come if you have not watched my special from beginning to end. You must come to a place of my choosing and a time of my choosing. I desperately want people to see this movie, but I understand why investors would be nervous. Since nobody will touch it, I'll tell you what I'll do. I will make it available for all of you in 10 American cities, going on sale in the next few days. You will be able to see this movie in its entirety, and you can see what they're trying to obstruct you from seeing. And you can judge for yourself, but you cannot have this conversation and exclude my voice from it. That is only fair. You have to answer the question, am I canceled or not? Then let's go.
Every line, every gesture, every carefully chosen word is a masterpiece of freedom of speech fused with comedic genius. Chappelle's relentless, unapologetic approach got him uncanceled time and again. The so-called alphabet mafia may have tried to rein him in, but instead he keeps on rallying, proving that true comedy cannot be muzzled.
And they've canceled people that are more powerful than me. They canceled J.K. Rowling. My God, J.K. Rowling wrote all the Harry Potter books by herself. She sold so many books, the Bible worries about her. And they canceled her because she said in an interview, and this is not exactly what she said, but effectually, she said, gender was a fact. And then the trans community got mad. They started calling her a I didn't even know what it was. But I know that trans people make up words to win arguments. So I looked it up. Is an acronym. Stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminists. This is a real thing. This is a group of women that hate transgender. They don't hate transgender women, but they look at trans women the way we blacks might look at blackface. It offends them. Like, ooh, this doing an impression of me.
And then, time and again, he dismantles every attempt to silence him, whether it's the cancel culture or the latest iteration of identity politics. In a world where everyone's walking on eggshells, Chappelle's bold truths remind us that sometimes the only way forward is to speak the unthinkable